This is probably the most 100% believable story that I've ever heard. Now, there was this guy who said his grandfather had told him this story. When his grandfather was younger, he lived on the reservation. And this one particular day, his dad comes to him and says, "We have to drive into town." Well, they lived pretty far out in the middle of nowhere, and it was about a 50-mile drive to get to the nearest city. So they set out in his father's truck and they start driving down this dirt road. As they're making their way through the desert, and there's all this brush and all these trees around, the truck starts to overheat, and his father pulls off to the side of the road, and he tells him, like, "I need you to stay here in the car. Not too far from here, there's like a creek. I need to get some water and I need to put it in the car to cool it off." So he says, "You lock the doors, don't let anyone in. I'll be right back." So his father leaves the vehicle and he starts heading off. So he's sitting in his car and he's all alone. He starts to get hot. So he rolls down his window and he could feel sort of this nice, cool breeze blowing in. And that's when the car became permeated with this smell of something rotten. And it was just this putrid, awful smell. And after a couple minutes, the wind just stopped and it got completely quiet. And he hears something moving in the brush outside. So he rolls up his window, and as he looks out the front windshield, he sees this very tall person run across the road into the brush. And so he's starting to freak out and he's like, "Dad, please get back here. Like, I'm scared. Where are you?" And all of a sudden, boom, 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 his father is banging on the window of the driver's side car, or the driver's side door. So he unlocks the door for his father and he lets him in. His father gets in the truck and he sort of just plops back in the seat. And he goes, "You were awful brave, boy, letting me in, because you don't know who or what I could be." And he's like, "What do you mean, Papa?" And he goes, "Well, there is those we don't speak of." And he said that they come from old Indian magic. They make deals with spirits and they can steal your voice. But that's not the scariest part. They can steal your skin and they could be anyone. And he said that's when who he thought was his father turned and looked at him with this big grimacing smile. And as he looked into his eyes, he sees them change, sort of this like yellowish hue. And he starts, freaking out, like, "What do I do? That's not my dad." All of a sudden, he feels his door open up and he is ripped out of the truck. And he turns around, it's his father. And he's like, "Dad, like, what's going on? Who's in the truck?" All of a sudden, the truck door flies open and out jumps this creature that was, very, very tall. It was muscular, had the body of a man and the face of a coyote. And it just takes off running into the desert. And his father's like, just get in the truck right now. Just get in the truck. So they get inside the truck and they lock the doors. And he's like, "Father, like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong?" And he says to him, "We can't talk about this. We don't talk about this. It'll only get worse. We have to wait till the morning." And so all night long, he said they could hear these things around the truck, like screaming, and they would call out to them in voices that they knew, telling them to come out of the truck and come into the desert. And finally, morning came and they were able to leave. And he starts talking to his father, and he says, "Father, like, how do I know you're not one of them?" And his father said, "Well, look into my eyes." He said, "You can always tell by the eyes."